My name is Danielle, and I'm here to talk about why I think that nonverbal communication is the most important part of the communication process. Nonverbal communication is all aspects of communication other than words. So, it's things like how we utter the words, how our environment affects the communication, objects that influence personal images, and interaction patterns, which are things like our dress and our jewelry. And a study at UCLA found that communication is 55% nonverbal elements, 38% a vocal elements, which is like tone, and 7% the actual message or the words that we speak. So today I'm going to talk about the differences of verbal and nonverbal, the types, many types of nonverbal communication, and the different cultures and how it uses nonverbal communication. So the first topic I want to discuss are the differences. So nonverbal communication is perceived as more honest. A quote from the book says, if verbal and nonverbal behaviors are inconsistent, most people tend to trust nonverbal behavior. Well, there's little evidence to that nonverbal behavior is more trustworthy, but it tends to be perceived as more trustworthy. End quote, which is on chapter 6, page 111, under differences. It also shows that it's multi-channeled. Nonverbal communication is multi-channeled, which may be seen, felt, heard, smelled, and tasted. We receive nonverbal communication through two or more channels simultaneously. Let's look at this for example. So this man and woman are embracing, and the man is also giving her flowers at the same time. So that shows how simultaneously the nonverbal communication is, because it shows that they like each other, they care about each other. The last aspect under differences is how it's continuous. We may speak for one moment and then stop, and then speak and then stop, and but nonverbal communication flows continuously. Before we speak, it's our facial expressions. As we speak, it's our body positions and movements, and after we speak, it could be our posture or changes, which perhaps shows relaxing. The second topic I wanted to get on is the different types of nonverbal communication. There are many different types of nonverbal communication, but I'm only going to talk about a few because I only have so much time. So the first one I want to talk about is kinesics, which is the body position or the body movement, including the facial expressions. So, for example, it's just like your posture, your eye contact, your eye movement, the position you're at, and the gestures. Another aspect is haptics, which is physical touch. Like in our example, they were showing physical touch to communicate that they cared for each other. Another example is that women tend to touch others to show liking and intimacy, whereas men usually rely on touch to assert power and control. Another aspect of the different types is paralanguage, which is the vocal communication that doesn't include words, which is like gasps or murmurs or just pitch and inflection. It tells us or others how to interpret us and what we say. We may use gender, for example. For masculinity, men are have a stronger volume, a lower pitch, limited inflection, and femininity in women use softer volume, higher pitch, and more inflection. So on our last topic I want to get on are the culture differences. So certain forms of nonverbal communication have different meanings in different cultures. For example, a gesture in the U.S. may mean something in a different country. So we point with our index finger, but in Japan, people will most likely gesture with a hand because pointing is considered rude in most Asian cultures, and also eye contact is different. Eye contact in the US is considered a sign of trustworthiness and interest, but in Japan it's mostly avoided because it's considered disrespectful. So in conclusion, to top it off, nonverbal communication is a major part of how we communicate with others and how it's perceived, and that's why I think it is a very important part of our communication process.